All right. This is group 1. We are here with Matthew Ramsey, Allison Wallace, Carla McCain, and Stacy Fedrell. We are here to talk about case study number 2, and the title of this one is "We Don't Want the Devil Teaching Spelling." Overall, the article was talking about an elementary school principal allowing a group of teachers who worked in the gifted and talented program to make recommendations on materials purchased directly to an assistant superintendent. So we will go through the questions, and if anybody can, I'll ask the question, then we can kind of fill in where we need to. All right. So do you think that the principals acted responsibly in this case? Evaluate their behavior from the following perspectives: professional responsibility, moral or ethical leadership, and effective management. That was question number 3 under the key issues. So let's do the first one. Do y'all think the principals acted responsible?
I do not think that the principals were acting responsible in this case. They have a lot of autonomy for the gifted program, which is all well, but they don't know what is being used to teach things in their school. And then when they had parents complaining, they didn't even look at the software,
Right.
Which is the first thing that I would have done. Speak to the teacher, of course, but also be like, hey, pull this up for a second. Just let me see if I can figure out what they're talking about and if I can figure out what the complaint is. And so I don't think that they acted responsibly in that sense. If I was the teacher, I would have been really happy that they had my back, no questions asked. But from a parent standpoint, the parent was really disappointed, kind of as they should have been if they weren't even going to investigate and look at the software.
Yeah, Allison, I agree. And I was trying to remove myself as a parent when I was reading this, because I was really reading from the perspective of a parent. And I'm saying these principals, they didn't hear what the parent was saying. I mean, several people asked them, even the administrators above them, have you seen the program? They're all, no. So I don't feel they were very responsible in that regard at all. Again, like you said, they supported their teachers. I think that's great. I wish my principal would say, here's some money, spend it on what you think is best. But they didn't look at it. And I think, just for that issue, especially with the times and the wealth of resources and all the different views and diversity and all that, you have to almost have to micromanage all of that in order to know what's going on, so that you won't be blindsided by anything like this.
But as a principal, you would think that they would be involved a lot more in picking a program or learning about the program that they're wanting to choose before they take it to the next level. Like, I would have thought that they would have all, invited their principals to the meeting to discuss that program.
Well, this was almost like a district-wide kind of thing. It's involving more than one school, more than one principal. So you would think that it would have been handled a little bit differently. I guess my concern is it's been going on for 10 years, right? So they've been doing the same thing, but why? But I guess my question is how why didn't the principal know what's going on? You think you give the teachers the autonomy to do some, make some good connection with the kids, what they might find interesting. But I tell you what, it makes you look bad when parents ask you questions about things and you have no idea what's happening, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's
it
what I was
does.
thinking. Because it said that there was 21 teachers who worked with students that were gifted and talented.
Mm-hmm.
But it never said that any, you would think with 21 teachers, like you said, Matthew, it was a district wide, there would at least be a few principals from the schools to meet and discuss about and share their concerns and ideas about each program.
Right.
Yeah, and I guess maybe because they've never had this issue before, I take it. So I guess they figure, these teachers are fully aware of what is expected. So maybe that's why they didn't look at it. But, you would think that many teachers, one principal somewhere would have sort of glanced over the program.
Well, I wonder
for me. Go ahead, Stacey.
Well, I was just wondering how long those 21 teachers have been teaching. Did it say that? Unless I see where it was talking about 10 elementary schools, but those 21 teachers, are they just starting out in the gifted and talented, or had they been working with them for a long time? And you would think that they would know the proper channels to go through. But
well, when the parent asked the principal to look into it, and you blindly trust your teachers like that sets you up for a lot of problems that possibly could happen.
Yeah.
Yes, it sure can.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And I was kind of in my brain like, well, if all three principals are reacting the same way, they got complaints, but they didn't really do anything about it, or they didn't look at the software, like what kind of things are they saying at the district office to the principals to make them act that way and not take action and just kind of trust their teachers and things like that?
Yes, because it was kind of weird that all three of them didn't really investigate the complaint. It would have been different if it was just maybe one, but it was all three of them that got complaint.
Yeah, it's the weirdest thing.
Yeah. All right. If you were Dr. Montgomery, whom would you hold responsible for this situation? So as far as the superintendent, if you were the superintendent, who would you hold responsible?
I would start with the principals because they're the ones who were meeting with the AIG teachers, and then they were busy, which principals are busy, and stopped the meetings. So that right there is kind of stopping the communication from what the AIG teachers are doing. So I would start kind of with my blame on the principals, not knowing what's going on in their schools and things like that. You can't really blame the assistant superintendent because he's just the one. He should have looked at it too, but he made an assumption that the principals had okayed it, which I probably would have done too if I was in his shoes. So I'm probably going to start with the principals.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. I feel like if you're the assistant superintendent in charge of that instruction or the curriculum or whatever it is, then Dr. Youngman, what's his name, Dr. Youngman, the assistant superintendent, he really needs he needs to be a little bit more into the game. I'm sure he's got lots and lots and lots and lots of duties, but if he's gonna, it's got to stop with somebody. And it always goes up. So that one person's got to be the final straw that has to answer the question of, is this an appropriate thing we're buying to help kids? Is it going to help all kids? Is it going to be something that's controversial or not? And that for me, it was Dr. Youngman.
I kind of see both of your points, because you want to hold the principals responsible too, because they should have looked into the programs or into the what they call it, sorcerer or something like that. Is that so?
Yeah.
You just by looking at the name, you kind of get a funny feeling about it. But anyway, like the principals need to be held responsible, but also, like Matthew said, if the assistant superintendent needs to be held responsible because he's the one that's okaying them to purchase, to give them the money to purchase. So it's kind of, I see both sides. You know, I'm kind of in between. Like, I think both of them should be held responsible because they both are at fault. That one, the principals like didn't know what was going on and didn't investigate the issue. But then again, the superintendent bought the program but didn't look into the program. He just took it upon took what the teacher said. But it was interesting that one of the teachers brought up the issue with the witchcraft or the the people in the program. I think let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, during that meeting,
Yes.
with all the other teachers,
Lucy McNeil, it said, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and she was like, "Oh, I'm just being sensitive. Let me drop it."
Mm-hmm. With the character, yeah.
Well, 1 against 20 are not really good odds, are they?
No.
I don't know. I'm just having a hard time with it because I want to look at all of them equally. I think they all played a role in it. The teachers, they're giving you this empowerment. Okay, you made the decision, but you have to really stay relevant to all of these different views. And I know it's a lot, but you've been given that responsibility. So I would probably have to start with them because they saw the content. Even the one little teacher that spoke up, but then I guess, she backed down. It's easy to go with the group. But I will have to really start there and then just work my way up because they all really played a part in it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's just my view. They all played a part in it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It says, assess the argument that the materials should not be removed because students are not required to use them. Is this an adequate response? Why or why not? Number 5.
Yeah.
Materials.
I thought that.
I don't know.
I thought that
those questions. Ugh.
I think if you just take it off, it says pacifies the parents, but
Yeah.
it doesn't really get back to the bigger issue of things because the program was purchased by state funds or local funds, so. And you're probably talking about quite a substantial bit of money that can't be, returned by any means. So, I mean that's a tough question.
Well, you would think like maybe they need to get like even if let's say if they stop the program, they had to get permission slips signed for each student saying that they're allowed to use it. Based on, even though it might have witchcraft or whatever kind of characters in there. But I would present the data to the parents saying, okay, well, if it's a good program, it's going to have data showing that it's a very effective kind of program. And that would be where I would lead my discussion with the parents.
I was kind of thinking, think about a librarian when they buy books. When students go to the library, they've got all kinds of books that they're around that deal with different topics.
Yes.
So and they're bought with state money or federal money or local money. It's not that much of a difference. Or even if it was a book they were reading in class, I mean, is that any different? That if they were reading a book about like Harry Potter. It's the same idea.
And I'm seeing all of that, and I'm trying still to remove myself. But I'm thinking, Stacey, I like okay, let's get parents to sign a permission slip if they agree with with their child using the program and all. But then going back to when they go to the media center, library, all that, they are exposed to all these genres or even this silly stuff like Captain Underpants and all of this gross humor and all of that. They are exposed to so much in their, parents, every single parent has their own view. Mm-hmm. And of course, we can't satisfy everyone. But on the other hand, they may have some strong convictions as to why they don't want their children exposed to this. And what is the data behind it? They can't find another program that's just as good as The Sorcerer, So what do you do? Because again, that's money that's being spent on this program, so we don't want that money to be wasted. And we don't have to come up with 30 different programs to serve the needs of every single child because of their views and beliefs.
Right.
Yeah, but and I agree with you guys too. And as soon as it doesn't solve the problem, like y'all already said. So, and like Carla said, all the parents, they have different points of view. So, maybe the next time someone would complain about Captain Underpants and things kind of being gross and humorous or whatever. I don't think that's a real solution. I think it kind of goes deeper than that, than just simply removing it or saying, oh, well, the students don't have to use it. It's an enrichment activity, and the kids are going to be upset, well, why do I have to do this boring thing when, so-and-so's over here having lots of fun playing sorcerer? Because it seemed like the kids were kind of addicted to it. They wouldn't get off it at home. So that question, it really is a difficult question.
Well, and I was thinking about, well, what if the parents were asked to come in and watch and see some of the things that they were doing on the program, and they could say right then and there, before the children even started doing the program, could say, okay, well, I want my child doing this, or I don't want my child doing this, and get those permission slips signed saying that they are okay with their child doing it or not okay. I would think that would be, if this was a program that the county decided on, you already funded it, you spent the money, but then every child doesn't have to use it. But like you said, Allison, it seemed kind of fun for the children to do, and they were interested in wanting to do it. And you kind of.
Did you see how everyone's starting to jump on the bandwagon though? Like from the article in the paper, like the one person wrote an article, and then you had more people start to snowball and like, oh yeah, we don't want this kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that bothers me, because it started out as not too big of a deal, but if they would have went that route first and said, we're not going to make you do it. You can come and look at it yourself, and if you want your child to do it, that's fine.
Right.
But I think just ignoring it made it fester so much to where it got to that point.
Got a little worse. And I
was surprised the newspaper article had 46 signatures on the complaint.
Right.
Yeah, where did that come from?
Yeah, that seemed like every principal had one, maybe two calls, and then all of a sudden there's 46. Like, yeah, where did that come from?
But, a lot of times when you have one parent and they have a circle of friends and their child is also, what normally happens? They go and vent to that other parent, and they're like, well, I don't like that either, so we'll sign this paper saying you don't like that.
Right.
So that normally what happens, like the parents kind of fuel each other on issues. So you start out with 2 or 3 phone calls, but then end up with 46 signatures. There had to be some kind of talk going on within that circle.
Yeah.
All right. To what extent do you think the nature of the community is a factor in the problem arising and the type of solution that should be pursued?
Oh, I think the community is a huge problem. Because it said that it is an affluent community and the per pupil spending there is one of the highest in the districts, and it's one of the most affluent communities. So sort of like the other case study we had, you have parents who are wealthy, who maybe you have some stay-at-home moms and they're not working and they're just really involved in their school, the school and what the children are doing. I think that if you were going to go inner city Chicago, where people are really poor as opposed to the affluent suburban, you wouldn't have this problem. So I think that it's a lot to do with the community. And the type of solution, because here the parents are going to want to be involved in the solution. You'll probably have to have some meetings and after meeting to mediate it and have a vote and try all these different things in order to make everybody happy.
Mm-hmm. And you're not always going to make everybody happy. That's one thing I have figured out.
And I think because it is that, it seems like it's a wealthy community, that unfortunately schools tend to really go with what the community says, because that's what drives school. And of course you want to keep them there. I hate to put it that way, but they would want to keep those involved parents within the school. So when coming up with a solution, I think it's going to be really based on the views of the parents. I don't even think it'll be so much as based on data. Yes, the students might be spelling great and whatever else the program offers, but simply because the parents are not pleased with the content in the program, that's going to play a major factor in what solution they come up with.
Well, I think it's funny that in those communities, we'll say that you go to your neighbor's house and can you believe what they're doing? And you kind of wonder how the neighbor can respond. If they respond with you, you're like, yeah, I got somebody else. But if they respond against you, it's like, so you believe in witchcraft yourself? Almost alienating them. So it's very easy to perpetuate that movement of, hey, this is something our kids don't need to be a part of. In that kind of neighborhood, because they don't want to be associated with it themselves.
But I think it depends on how they raise I hate to say it like this, but I guess raise their children. If they raise them to believe that if a child is looking at this program and they're like, oh, it's got witchcraft stuff, I know that's not true, or so I'm not really going to worry about it. And looking at it as far as the parent, it kind of depends on how you raise your child and what you raise them to believe in, and you teach them that, okay, well, that's not true, or that's true, or because some kids are going to look at it and, oh, okay, it's a character, and I know my parents told me that they're not true. That's not true. So, and you got to look at what the content of the program is wanting them to do. Is the main focus of the program to incorporate witchcraft in schools? I wouldn't say so. I would say it would be more of the spelling and words kind of thing. So I think, I hate to say it like that, but it kind of depends on how they're, they raise their child to what they believe.
It's a really good point.
Yeah, that is true, because I would be one of those parents that would be having a fit right now. that would be me. No, y'all going to get this out of the school right now. I'm calling the school board, superintendents, whoever I have to. But I think that does have a factor to play in it. And who said it about, well, your child, you're saying it's okay for your child, but you may be looking at them as an outcast saying, oh, they believe in all of this stuff. They're going to come out and cast spells and all this stuff. So this is a good one.
Yeah. All right. Do you agree with the superintendent's comment that if he were a principal, he would want to control the purchase of instructional materials in his school? Why or why not?
I agree with it because, you know, as the principal, you're the first line of defense. The parent's going to call you first before they write to the paper and before they go up the chain. So, and I'm also a control freak. So I would definitely want to be in control of what is being taught and purchased as far as instructional materials at the school, because I'm going to be the one having to defend it.
Yeah, Allison, I agree. I mean, you know, I would have to know. There is no way I would want to be blindsided by anything of this nature. I'm going to have to know how this money is being spent, what is it being spent on, all of that. I need to see the program. So I agree 100%.
I tell you what, I think there's a difference between approving the purchase and then picking it out yourself. You know, so as long as the principal's there to approve it and knows a little bit about it and does a little research on it, you hate to think about, as a principal, you got so many decisions to make. This is probably not going to be on one of the highest ones on your list of priorities, but just being able to have some insight to it is going to help out, because in 10 years, one question comes along, not bad, but you would want to try to be proactive about that kind of stuff.
All right. If you were Dr. Youngman, what actions would you take to prevent problems like this from arising in the future?
Dr. Youngman probably wants to start looking at what is going through. That would be the first step. Yes, before you just go and sign off on a check and see if there's money, you might want to see what the money is being used for. I think that would help him out a lot.
Yeah, I would do that immediately. Actually start looking, even though they have the budget, start looking at what they're going to approve, and then circle back up with the principals too and say, hey, did you see they're buying this program? It's called Sorcerer. I wonder if it's about witchcraft.
It's like a little warning sign back there going ding dong, ding dong.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, whoa, got burned on this one time. Let me make sure to put some precautions in place so it doesn't happen again. And maybe even make sure that the principals reinstate those meetings with the AIG department that they stopped doing. Maybe do that as well.
Yeah.
I wonder how long Dr. Youngman's been assistant superintendent person. Or was this his first time being, I wouldn't think so, but I wonder if he had done this previously with other programs that maybe a different subgroup has presented to him. It would be it would be interesting to, we've talked about on all these case studies and article reviews and stuff, they kind of leave out some information that you would think they need to kind of put in there, and it leaves you kind of hanging, because if you would know some more information, it would help you kind of understand a little bit better what is kind of what's going on through their eyes.
Mm-hmm. Well, because it feels like a rookie mistake. You know what I mean? It feels like a mistake of someone who doesn't have a lot of experience, but that might just be an assumption in my brain that I'm making, because we don't know.
All right. Assume that the administrators decide to remove Sorcerer from the schools as the parents are demanding. What reaction would you anticipate from the teachers?
I think they'd be mad. I mean, you're trusting them with empowerment to make decisions, and even though there's not quite a one person that's at fault, it almost feels like the higher up administration doesn't have their back when it comes to, they found something that really works. It's helping a lot of kids. We're getting a little bit of grief from it. you guys didn't quite do your job to investigate it, even just to investigate and say, maybe put some things in place like Stacy said, we can get some people to come into the school and watch it, or get a permission slip to use it, or whatever, to make parents feel more comfortable when it comes into their house that they would be able to do that. So, it's a, yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm with you guys, though. I would be mad. Like, okay, so we had a hallway conversation about it, and we were fine. You trusted my judgment, and then all of a sudden, like, you got a little bit of heat, and you came back. I would be really mad if I was a teacher.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I do. I would be very upset as a teacher, and I would have a lot to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. Unless I was that one teacher that said at the beginning, we shouldn't have got the program, then my view would probably be a little bit different. Like, I told you so.
Yep.
But otherwise, I would be upset,
But you would be amazed at how many things happen like this based upon the way things are done. There's just no really accountability system. That nothing really bad comes out of it until one little mistake happens, and then everything has to be revamped to make sure that there's one fall person, or one person who can justify, this is what we did and this is why, or this is what we didn't do and this is why.
Mm-hmm. All right, now looking at it from a different point of view, assume that the administration decided to support Miss Oberfield and leave sorcerer in the schools. What reaction would you anticipate from the school board, or even from the parents?
Well, those parents are going to go to that school board. It's still not going to be over. If they support Miss Oberfield, then the school board needs to get ready, because they're going to be outside ready, waiting on them that morning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I think the school board needs to have all of the data from the program, like showing how the results have been, like nationally or statewide, and at the school, and showing what a difference it's made. I would have screenshots. I would have the program pulled up. I would have all my ducks in a row, and give a presentation about it to the parents.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree. And even if you did teach the students ahead of time, even if the teachers brought up the fact that the characters are witchcraft, or, things like that, and, you might have to have a talk with one of the students about the characters or things like that. But being able to have all that information, that data to prove that it really does work, and it's an effective program. But yeah, the school board would get some heat, definitely. If they
Definitely.
Well, it would also be nice. It would also be nice to give everybody a heads up, like going upward as well. And this is what we're going into. Made some mistakes, but this is what we want to do, and just kind of tell them. And like you guys also said, put in the data, the information, all the good things are happening, so they can make a decision themselves. Because each one on that board is going to have to make a decision. Is this something that I support, or is it something that is something that we need to look back and say, hey, let's think twice about this, guys.
All right, we got about less than a minute. Anybody want to add any ending comments? I think this was a good article to have, right around the time we did our curriculum interview kind of thing. So, all right.
I think you too. I think it's a good reminder, just kind of teacher empowerment. Like I think Matthew said it, teacher empowerment is good, but like not too much to where you're kind of you don't have any oversight as to what they're doing in order and things like that, and you don't want to be blindsided. So I think it's some good reminders.
Yeah.
And how that we find something that can be like harmless can fester into something that can get a lot of steam going if we don't look into it and investigate it meaningfully.
All right. Well, that concludes our case study number 2.